If you're thinking about buying the SweatTent, you should really watch this video first. I've been using this thing for coming up on a year now and just got through winter in New Hampshire. So I've really been able to test it out, and I want to tell you some things that you should consider before buying a SweatTent and letting you know if I still think it's worth it. Now, as somebody who has had a sauna box and a SweatTent, which I think are kind of the two entry levels when it comes to saunas, I will tell you that there is a really big difference between the two. And which one you should get probably depends on your own situation. So let me tell you, the sauna box, which I no longer have anymore, I would say is good if you don't really have space outside. Maybe you're not really sure if you're going to get into it or not. I think that is like the perfect putting your feet in the water. However, I couldn't get that thing above like 120 degrees. And last week I had this at 208 degrees and it was very painful, I will tell you that. But the heat is so different when you are using this with wood. You're getting it up to those high temperatures, which a lot of the studies are past, like I think it's 176 or something like that. And so if you're going for those extremes, I would definitely go with more of the sauna box. By the way, if you are thinking of getting one, you can use the code Gabe or the link down below and get like an exclusive discount. Super cool, and it does help support the channel. But just being honest with you, you want to make sure before you buy a sauna that you're going to be committed to using it regularly. And I do believe at this price point, this is one of the cheapest saunas on the market when it comes to outdoor saunas, if not the cheapest one. And so if you are thinking about getting maybe a barrel sauna or one of those nicer one or infrared one that it can be, you know, like $3-4 grand, I think this would probably be a better first step because it is in that like $1,500 price point, and it's been really solid for that. Another thing to consider is, do you have access to firewood? Because you're gonna kind of need some. I got 1 cord of wood last fall, and I use that for like my fire pit and then also this, and I still have about half of that left. So probably it's going to be like 1 cord a year is going to be kind of my rough guess. And it does take a lot more wood in the winter here, but if you have no access to wood, then this is probably not going to be a good play. It does take generally about 4 chunks of wood roughly this size in order to get up to that 180 mark for me, which I personally think is pretty efficient and cheap to get a sauna up and going. But if you live in a place where that's going to be a huge headache to get wood constantly, then maybe you do want to go one of those more electric areas. But actually for me, having wood is one of my favorite parts about this. I love lighting the fire naturally. I don't even use fire starters or anything like that because I love the calming type of ritual of lighting a fire with paper, going out getting sticks, or using some stuff that was going to go in recycling. Like I just use old boxes and stuff like that, and it's just really calming for me, just as much, well, maybe not as much as using the sauna, but part of it is just really calming to actually light a fire and then enjoy kind of the fruits of your labor and all that type of stuff. So that would definitely be another thing to consider. So do you have access to wood? Do you want to light a fire 5 times a week like I do, which takes a little bit longer? Of course, you can bypass that just by getting fire starters or bricks or whatever, which is probably what most people do. How much room do you actually need? Ow, this thing's getting hot. Quick note, don't forget to take off jewelry in here. It starts to burn pretty quickly. So I've had now, again, the sauna box, which is the smallest you can go pretty much. This, which is like a good middle ground for 1 to 4 people. And then the SweatTent XL, which is like 10 plus people. You could literally live in that thing, and it's great if you have a bunch of people over, whatever. If you want to work out while you're taking a sauna, I think that thing is the absolute go-to play. And it's only a couple $100 more than this, which is kind of insane. I'll leave links for that down below as well. But I think it's important to think about how many people are you going to have in your sauna regularly. If you expect to have a lot of people sometimes, maybe the SweatTent XL is the go-to. If you have absolutely no space in your yard, again, maybe you shouldn't be looking at an outdoor sauna and should do one of the indoor ones. But if you do have space, this has a very minimal footprint. I'll put the dimensions on the screen here, and it's been really solid. Another thing to possibly consider before buying it is the floor. I want to show you this real quick. I've been putting cardboard down because in the winter when all the snow melted, the ground has been getting really wet and muddy here. And so I fixed that by literally just putting cardboard down. It was getting really hot in there. However, as we go to the next house, I am actively considering where I can put this that it will not get wet and muddy. So I might build a floor for it. I'm gonna try to get some pavers. There's different flooring options that maybe I'll test out in the future, hopefully next year, and I can let you guys know what I think works best. And while it does work totally fine on grass, that's what I've had it on for literally a year now, summer and winter, it's not ideal. So just making sure that you have a spot that's going to be either somewhat dry and just be okay with it getting a little bit muddy because it is outside on the ground, or also look into some type of flooring while you're doing this, you could also get this, see how it is without it, and then get flooring as like an upgrade later, because this literally, you can just pick this up and move it in like 30 seconds. You could just tip this up and, you know, put a flooring under it. It's so easy. So that's definitely something you got to think about. Another thing to consider is if you're going to smoke out your neighbors, you can see it's running right there. It's like 170 inside or something, and you almost can't see any smoke. So while there is some smoke if your wood's wet or if you're just getting started, overall, it doesn't have a ton of smoke, and I don't think that's gonna be a major issue. I wouldn't put it directly next to my house, but this is pretty close to my house and it never like goes inside or anything like that, so that's pretty nice. I know another thing you might be thinking about is, will it work in my climate? I have friends who are in Florida and they use this, and then I'm here in New Hampshire and I've used this when there's like 2 feet of snow outside. I will say that in the winter, when there has been 2 feet of snow, if I don't clear this off, it has fallen in once or twice. I just pop it back up and it's totally fine, but that has happened, so that's something to consider as well. But I will say, now that it's like 40 degrees outside, it's actually easy to get this puppy up to like 200 degrees, whereas when it was like 12 degrees outside, it was hard to get past the 180 mark, and it would just use like more wood in order to do that. So while I would say it's not probably ideal to have in 2 feet of snow, it totally works, and I left mine outside all winter and it's still totally fine, so that's good. Now, one question that I get asked a lot is this thing safe and does it smell? It's totally safe. They've done tests and stuff like that. It does not smell at all. You just run stuff at the beginning so that the wood stove can season and stuff like that, but it smells totally fine. And it's very safe in there. And I will say, as far as like shoulder pain and relaxation, there has been nothing that comes even close to this. As far as recovery, I've done, you know, cold plunges, I've done Theragun and massages, and I had a hot tub for a while. This doesn't even compare to all of that as to how good I feel afterwards. So if you have any of that pain, even like this helps me sleep, I would just say it's definitely like a no-brainer if you have any of that. Again, if you are thinking of buying one, it would mean a ton if you could use the code Gabe. Really helps me out, and you got extra money off, so it's a no-brainer. If you have any questions you want me to answer, drop them down below and I'll try to do a Q&A video sometime soon. I'm gonna hop in here, so enjoy.